Hi, I'm Scott French. Welcome to the Football Manager Files. I'm delighted to say we're here today with Bruce Arena, the head coach of the LA Galaxy. He was U.S. national team coach for 8 years and has won championships at every level in the United States. Bruce, you briefly played soccer and lacrosse as a professional. You played in college, kind of drifted into coaching when you were in your mid-20s at the University of Virginia. How did you approach coaching at that point? What kind of spurred you on?
Well, I first started coaching at Cornell pretty much after my graduation. And what spurred me on was my lacrosse coach at Cornell. I thought he was a fabulous coach, and the way he built a team and valued every player. And I saw through my experiences with him the importance of interacting with players and how you build team morale, unity, and quality in your team. And it was an experience that I thoroughly enjoyed, and it was something I said, I'd love to try to do myself.
In that first decade of coaching, how did you evolve as a coach, and what didn't you know at that point?
I think every coach will tell you it's all trial and error. And you go through a lot of things. You have these fantastic ideas, and you learn from experience. Some of them are good and some are bad. And I think every day you can learn, and what makes a good coach or manager one day, I think, is experience and learning from your mistakes and understanding the things you did well that it helped your team, and if you can build on that, you can someday be a good coach.
You won 5 NCAA national titles in a 6-year span at Virginia, and then you went off to DC United as MLS kicked off in 1996. Within 3 years, you were U.S. national team coach. Were you intimidated at all by these leaps in levels, or were you always confident in your abilities?
I think I was always confident in my abilities, but each step was a learning experience. And again, you need to be exposed to it and make some mistakes and learn from them. So at every level, I've done that. It's the same thing when I came to the LA Galaxy in 2008. It was a new experience to me, and dealing with a club that was a little bit more high profile, but not achieving what they wanted to achieve, and learn about the club, learn about the players, and all those things. That you experience at every level. And I think, obviously, after so many years of having had a taste of it, I think by the time I arrived in LA, I pretty much had my feet on the ground and understood what I needed to do.
How great a difference was there in coaching a club versus coaching internationally, and how great was the learning curve?
The learning curve is always there, and it's always challenging. I think a club coach and a national team coach are two completely different jobs, and it's not that easy to explain, but I think you have a greater impact, I think, at the club level because you're involved with those players every day. At the international level, they come and go every couple of months, and that makes it a little bit more challenging. And they're different jobs. The national team job, you iron the pool of talent available and you select. At the club level, you develop a lot more.
During your tenure as national team coach, the U.S. became the power in CONCACAF. It was a key moment in the rivalry with Mexico. You came very close to the semifinals in 2002. What was pivotal to the success of your teams?
I think understanding our strengths and weaknesses and building a team. I think the challenge for any coach at any level is identifying the individuals you have, understanding your strengths and weaknesses, and then making a team out of it. And building a team is the challenge that every coach or manager has, because games are sometimes won by individuals, but they're really won by a team, and you have to build a team, and that is always the challenge when you go into a new position, and that's something I believe has been a strength of mine.
You've been considered the best American coach for 2 decades, maybe a little longer. So few managers are able to have that kind of length of career where they are so successful. You've proven an ability to motivate one generation after another. What is your secret, and why do the players love playing for you?
Well, I think the players know that I respect them, and I try to give them as much room as possible to express themselves as players on and off the field. And you know, I think that's a key part. I think you know, building relationships with players is very important if your intentions are to build a strong team.
Have players changed over time? Do you have to change your strategies in dealing from one generation to the next?
Players have definitely changed. The modern day player in the U.S. in particular is much different. Social media is a big challenge for all of us. And you know, I think you just got to get to know them. But you know, in the professional game, money's a big factor as well, and it's a daily concern by everybody, and you know, that's part of it as well. Things that we don't like, but it's all part of the job. But you know, I think in the United States, as the game grows and the resources get better, I think we're going to be able to support our domestic players better, and it won't be as challenging. But you know, a big part of professional sports is how you pay players. They think that's number one on their checklist, and we have to deal with that every day.
How important is it creating a strong coaching staff? And what do you look for in assistant coaches? And do you look for them to fill gaps that perhaps aren't strong in your?
Yeah, that your staff should complement you, and I try to do that with my staff. You know, sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. But once I put a staff together, if I see any shortcomings, I try to fill those gaps as well. But at our level, we think you know, we can put together a staff that complements me and the players as well.
You're revered for your ability to build teams, and if we look at your history, DC United, during that first season, you built that team into a champion, won the first 2 championships in MLS. You go to the national team, which the rise of U.S. into a competitive nation internationally occurs during your time there. And when you come to the Galaxy in August 2008, the club's probably at its lowest point competitively, and within a year, you're playing for a championship again. You win 3 championships in 4 years right after that. What's your secret?
First of all, I think I have an eye for players and how they fit into teams and how they complement others. But then, you know, as I said, you have to build the dynamics inside the group and make that group of individuals into a good or a great team. And that's a challenge, and it's every day. And when you fail to recognize that, I think you fail, because in the end, it is about team. And I try to bring in the best players I can and then try to mold it into the best team possible.
What kind of personalities do you have to have on your team?
You have to have people who care. You have to have great leaders. You have to have people that on a daily basis want to do well and want to challenge their teammates, and you know, not be content. And at times we've had a great blend of that here, from the Landon Donovans, the David Beckhams, to today Robbie Keane and others. And you know, we need to have that kind of dynamic in our locker room and on the field as well.
When you're putting together a team, is there a certain recipe? Is there a particular ratio that you're looking in terms of stars to journeymen, working players?
Well, in our league, more so, you have to think that way a little bit because of our budget constraints. So, you know, if we're going to bring in top-level players, that sometimes doesn't allow our roster to be very deep. And so then you have to find the right guys that can support your key players on the field and also play a strong reserve role as well. So it's a challenge. Our resources are a little different. It doesn't mean our challenge is any less than it is at Manchester United or Bayern Munich. It's different, but in a lot of ways it's the same thing as well.
Are there personalities that will not work for you?
Yeah, there's personalities that don't work for a lot of clubs and a lot of managers, and that's part of the job. And if initially it doesn't work, you got to do everything you can to make it work. And when it doesn't work, then maybe you have to go your own separate ways.
Seems that the culture in your locker rooms is always very strong. It's always a very unified locker room.
Yeah, I'd like to come to work every day and enjoy it. I don't want it to be miserable, and so we try to create a good environment on a daily basis.
Is the personality of the team, is that based on the manager, or is it based on your personnel?
Well, a lot of it is based on the manager, and I understand that, but a lot of it should be based on the players as well. So we try to find the right balance. And also, as I get older and understand I won't be doing this for another 20 years, it's important in my role as a manager that that my personality isn't overwhelming on the team side or the organizational side, because I always say if I step off the curb and get hit by a bus, this thing has got to be able to work without me. And unfortunately, at times, my personality is too strong. So in my older days now, I'm trying to balance that a little bit and try to bring in other people that can ultimately replace me.
When you create a system for your team, are you looking to create a particular system and fill the spots, or do you build that around the talent that you have?
I build it around our talent. And I think most coaches try to do that. At times, if you're not flexible enough to understand what your players do well and don't do well, you're probably not going to organize them the right way on the field.
Is it different coaching foreign stars, such as a David Beckham or a Steven Gerrard, and how do you get them to buy into what you want?
Well, I think players that come from abroad need a little time to get adjusted to our club and our culture and living in the United States. It's different. You know, David Beckham played for Manchester United and Real Madrid and then PSG after the Galaxy and AC Milan as well. So we had a player to play for the best clubs in the world. And when he initially came to the LA Galaxy, it must have been quite an eye-opener for him. So, you know, coaching him would be a little bit different. Robbie Keane fit in from day one. He was almost like an American, the way he adapted. Steven Gerrard's still getting a taste of it. You know, Stevie's been in Liverpool his whole career, so anywhere he went was going to be an adjustment. And Los Angeles and MLS is certainly an adjustment, and I think in year two he's going to be, you know, more in line with what we need here, and I think he's going to do a great job.
MLS is so different from the major European leagues in that the regular season is really about qualifying for the playoffs, which is what determines the champion. How do you approach the rhythm of the season?
Well, without a doubt, you have to be at your best at the end. So that's, you know, a logical answer to that question. However, you know, I think we should be focused on being the best team in the league in the regular season as well as the postseason. So that's something we'll try to do. We've done it a few times. It's not easy, but you know, every team in our league kind of knows that they have a chance to be a champion. So that's a heck of a lot different than it is in other leagues around the world.
Knowing that you don't have to win every game in the regular season and that you're not going to win every game in the regular season, does that lessen the pressure at all?
No, I live and die for every game, and results that don't go our way eats at me. So individually, you know, I exert a lot of pressure on myself, regardless of how our competition is designed.
Mm-hmm. At what point in the season do you know that you have a team that can contend? And as the season's going on, what are you looking for that kind of signals to you that you need to make changes?
Well, if you have enough experience, it's obvious. As you go through a season, if you're honest to yourself and honest to your team, you understand really where you are. And then sometimes around September, we have a pretty good feel. But having said that, last September, I would have felt real good about our team, and in October, I did not. So you never know. Every year is a different challenge.
For you, what do you like to see on the field? What is your philosophy of soccer in terms of the way the game is played?
Well, I think score goals, be able to pass, have everyone involved on both sides of the ball. When we attack, everyone's an important part of the attack, regardless of their position. When we defend, everyone should be part of that as well. That's easier said than done. In the attacking end of the field, it's less coaching, it's more individual. When the other team has the ball, that's coaching. And you got to commit your players to have to want to work together in defending. In the attack, it boils down to a lot of individual ability and talent.
When you're building that, do you build from the back first?
All different ways, but I obviously like to build from the back first. But having said that, we're not ignoring any of those players that play close to goal.
There was a talk a couple of years ago about you possibly going to the Premiership to join Sunderland. Mm-hmm. Was that ever a real possibility for you?
Sunderland was not, no. But, you know, I think the one American coach that I have the greatest praise for now is Bob Bradley. He's had his different stints. He's been in Egypt as the national team coach. He's been in Norway and now in France. And it's something that I regret. I had an opportunity after the 2006 World Cup to go over to Europe and did not do that. And it's something I regret. And having said that, I admire these. My favorite league is the EPL, although I like them all. I admire the challenges they have, and I laugh when people think that it's so easy for the big teams, that they're supposed to be so successful. And I admire the teams with fewer resources. I think in the EPL, that's about 20 of the hardest jobs you can have in this business. Mm-hmm. So it's fun to watch. I regret not having had that opportunity.
Would you like to coach in Europe if the opportunity arose?
I would, but I don't think they're looking at Americans at my age right now to go over to Europe and coach.
Do you think there's a distrust of Americans in managerial positions in Europe?
No, I think there's a disrespect. I don't think there's a distrust. I don't think they respect us. And having said that, I would say that in the United States, it's probably the greatest place in the world to learn to coach. We have the NBA, the NFL, the NHL, Major League Baseball, our colleges. We experience competition at its best. We have the greatest sports science. We have the greatest coaches. We have different philosophies on a daily basis. If you want to be a coach here, it's right out there for you every day to see and experience. So I laugh when people think that an American can't coach over in Europe or elsewhere.
What have you drawn from other sports and from coaches in other sports?
How you manage players, your tactics, how you build a team. Everything you need to know about coaching is right here in the United States.
How do we convince Europe that American coaches can do the job over there?
Bob Bradley better do very well and win some championships.
Would you consider coaching the U.S. national team again?
I really enjoyed my 8 years, longest serving national team coach in the world at one point, and in the history of this country. It was great. That opportunity ever arose again, I'd surely be open to it.
Do you think it's a possibility?
Probably not.
How long would you like to continue on coaching?
Don't know the answer to that question. I think as of now, I know I'll be around tomorrow. After that, I don't know. But when the day comes, I don't think I can do it the right way. I'll step away. No one's going to have to tell me to step away. I'll do it myself. But right now, there's enough energy and commitment and desire to do the job.
Have you put much thought to your legacy?
I have not. I don't know what my legacy is. I'll leave that to others. But the only thing I could say is it's been a blast. I've been very fortunate to have the opportunities I've had.
How would you like to be remembered?
I'd like to be remembered as a good guy that did the best he could do every day, every year.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Bruce.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Football Manager Files. You'll find more interviews like this by following the instructions on screen.